What's up, guys? Today we are going to talk about the usage of environment variables in Lambda. So we're just basically going to show how it is done in like Node.js locally and how it is done when you're using Lambda. Go to this website here, FreeCodeCamp. They define environment variables, values that are typically used to provide the ability to configure a value in your code from outside your application. So you would have a file like this, and then in your code you would call this value, this key, from your code with process.env.mySecret. So this you do for one to isolate your secrets from your actual code, because when you hard code it basically means if anyone gets access to your code, that means they have also your secrets. So it might be passwords, it might be keys for something, it might be URLs, maybe encryption passwords. So we do this to make sure that our code is not code does not have hard-coded values in terms of passwords or similar kind of information. So as you can see here, we are hard coding the URL of this code. Normally we wouldn't do it this way unless it's something that needs to be public and no one really cares about. But if it is meant to be a secret value, you need to have it in the env file and then pull it from there. Here I'm going to show how it is done basically locally and how you can do it inside Lambda. It is different. It's not the way that we'll do it in here. So I'll show these two approaches so that you can appreciate the two and know what to use when you are in Lambda or outside of Lambda or something like if you are in, I believe Elastic Beanstalk also uses environment variables that are built into the service itself. So we'll do Elastic Beanstalk videos in the future. But here I'm going to show how it is done locally and also how you might want to do it in Lambda. So for locally, we are going to use this library code.env. So down the documentation, we see how we can install it. So you can just copy this and wait for it to finish. And also we need to get an env file and put the values that we want in there. And whether you are using ES6 or the common JavaScript, you have to use one approach respectively. So because we are using ES6, we are going to pick this. So first, let's get the env file. The env file is going to save the URL here. So when you go into VS Code, you're going to write .env, and you're going to have a secret value. Let's assume it's a password, but it's not. It's just a URL. So api.url, and they are going to delete this and go back to the code and copy this URL and paste it in here. And when you go back here, you have to write process.env dot what was our key, and you have to set it up this way. So to use the library, you have to do import. Let's go back to the documentation, and what's the import? Just copy it and paste it in here. So inside lambda, this function, it's default, called by the service itself, but since we are doing it locally, to test it locally, we have to call the function respectively. So handler, and we have to say then say result is equal to so now when you call this, whatever it returns, it's going to throw it into the result variable that we will log into this. So to call this, you have to write node.index.mjs. So if you were like using Node in some sort of web service, you typically do it this way. But inside a lambda function, this is not how you would normally approach the situation. So for a lambda function, we are going to remove the .env. We don't need that, and just to get rid of the library, and we're going to delete this. So what you'll be surprised with is we are going to leave this section the same. Okay, and we're not yet going to delete this yet. You're going to copy the URL. Just copy the whole thing. So in your newly created lambda function, you are going to go into configuration, and you are going to find the environment variable here. So you can click edit, and you will see where you can start creating entries. So click that. So you can just paste in there and remove the part that we don't want. I think this also can be deleted. Don't think we need that. And this is our key. So if you want to access this, we have to use this key here to access it. So we can save, and now we can be able to get it from there. You can append our own key here, say lam URL, and say process.env dot what was our key? This is the key. So if we go back here, we just have to paste it here. Now when we need outputs, the values, it's going to show the key that we have in the environment variables, that is our URL. So we should deploy always deploy if you're doing it, modifying your code here, otherwise you won't have the updated results. So we can just invoke it here. So as you can see, we are getting the value just fine. So to use our existing code with this value, we have to go back to our code the same way we've been doing it. So when you go to VS Code, we have to review in Finder and select what we need. As you can see, there's no environment variable here, and compress it and go back to lambda function and upload. Let's just wait for that to finish. Oh wow, it's not even, it's taking so long. Seems like it all. Yes. So as you can see, this is our new code. Remember, we decided to leave it that way. So process env.api URL. Hopefully this key is the same, it has no difference. So as it is, we just have to disable this, or let's just delete it. So now when we run our code, the URL will come from the deploy OS. The URL will come from our environment variables inside configuration and under environment variables. So to test it, we just have to press test. So as you can see, we are able to get our data out, and that's it. Very simple to implement, and this will also work if you implement the functional URL. And you can just call it like that, and let's wait it to load, and it will give you your results there. Now you can do your APIs and hold values away from your actual code, so that if anyone has access to this code, maybe they won't have access to this, but this one is public. You can create a private version using keys like this, so you can make it that people cannot access it normally, but yeah, this one is public. So yeah, that's it on the video. I hope you enjoyed this simple, straightforward video. Yeah, bye.